evening. Thank you so much for joining us for our Orientation 101 webinar. We are going to get started here and kick off with a few administrative kind of operational reminders and items. To begin, if anyone's having issues with the audio or logging in or any of the features, these are some alternative options for logging into our webinar this evening. You can always join us by phone. We have the access code and our meeting password on the screen there. I will also highlight that we are recording our webinar this evening, so if anyone would like to refer back to this information, maybe your parents couldn't attend, or maybe you would just like to be able to call in on a couple different pieces and make sure that you're squared away for your start in August. We will be posting this on our confirmation page for our August orientation recipients, as well as just sharing it out via email. So thank you so much, and we'll kind of move on. For the questions portion, feel free to chat in questions as the webinar continues. We do have the Slido feature available, and so if you open it up, there's a little apps feature there, and then we have the Slido Q&A. Once you click on that, you can have access to all of the features. We did just drop a question into the Slido, so you guys can answer that and see how it works. The question is, where are you joining us from? Is it from close by, here in Bozeman, maybe somewhere in Montana, or maybe you're across the country? We'd love to know. And so feel free to chat in those responses and use that feature as a kind of pilot to make sure that you're squared away. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can always email us or call us as well, especially if they start to get into too many of the nitty-gritty details and you want to chat a little bit more one-on-one. And so if that's the case, our main line is orientation@montana.edu. And then you can also call us. We are available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Mountain Time. And so you can call us at 406-994-2827. That's going to be our main orientation line and how you can get a hold of any of our staff. Awesome. I love seeing all of the chats on the Slido where you guys are tuning in from. So to kind of introduce myself so you know who is hosting the webinar this evening, as well as some of our team members here. My name is Shannon Bangan, and I serve as the Director of Orientation here at Montana State. I have been at MSU professionally since 2017, but I was also a student during my undergrad here at MSU as well. So a place that's very near and dear to my heart. And I actually started in the Office of Admissions as one of our orientation leaders. So kind of come full circle, which is really wonderful. But I am not alone this evening. We do have a lot of folks supporting us. And so I'm going to allow Nikki to introduce herself as well. Nikki is one of our advisors.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. My name is Nikki Jimenez, and I'm the Academic Advising Team Lead here in the Jake Jobs College of Business and Entrepreneurship here at MSU. And so I'll be representing the advising end of orientation tonight.
Perfect. Thanks, Nikki. Behind the scenes, we also have a lot of our admissions staff that are available on the chat and the Q&A. So as you ask questions, it might be Ellie or Aaron who answer those, or some of our admissions counselors who are also joining us tonight. If you ever email us, like I mentioned, orientation@montana.edu, it's probably one of these lovely ladies that are responding to you or getting back to your questions. But I would also be remiss if I didn't mention that we have a very large team of orientation leaders that are getting excited to welcome you in August. We have about 50 OLs who are representing all of our 8 different academic colleges, and they support us throughout the program as well. So anytime throughout leading into your start of school, as well as when you join us for the program, if you see any of these folks, feel free to ask them questions as we go. So a couple different things that we're going to be covering today. We're going to just introduce kind of what to expect from orientation, what is the program itself, and what are some of the things to keep in mind as we get closer to the actual in-person program. One of the biggest questions that we get is about accessing information leading up to our program. And so we're going to highlight some of those details. We're going to go over some of the operational pieces that might influence your class schedule. So things like holds or placement. And that's why I always love to have someone representing our advising team, because they are really the ones who also work so hard to make sure that you can receive a class schedule that sets you up for success and keeps you on track for your degree program. We are also then going to review some of the details of our in-person orientation session. And because our August orientation aligns with move-in and some of our kickoff programming, we'll touch on some of those details as well and where to find information as well from the housing perspective. And then I also always like to highlight the parent and family orientation and then just some important dates. As you chat in your questions, we'll be answering those, but some of the most common ones or some of the ones that have some really intricate answers, we're going to be saving those until the end. And so we can answer those live as well and make sure that everyone gets all of the information they need to have a successful start here at MSU. So just to kind of review what orientation is essentially your bridge or transition program to ensure that you're successful here at MSU. We cover everything from basically introducing you to folks here on campus and building relationships, giving you lots of information and giving you some foundational knowledge. And ultimately, we also hope that it really boosts your confidence so that you feel even more comfortable calling MSU your home. Really, our vision is that every student that joins us through orientation feels welcomed and prepared to start. And we do that in a lot of different ways. Orientation is required for all incoming students because it is just that. It's foundational to a student's success here at MSU. It covers everything from the academic side of the house, extracurricular activities and things outside the classroom, and kind of building that emotional and personal maturity as you enter your college years. It is required for all students, and there are 2 parts, and both of which are mandatory. So you can't just do one of these, you have to complete both steps. The first one is our pre-orientation, and we're going to touch on pre-orientation a little bit more in just a moment. That has been available for you since May, and then those are going to be containing some of the pieces that are really integral to you being able to receive a class schedule. So pre-orientation is a really important step that we can be completing right now if you haven't already. The in-person orientation will then take place August 23rd through the 25th. That is where you join us here on campus. We introduce you to a lot of different folks. We are going to take you around campus and make sure that you're ready for your first day. And then all of us, that leads us towards the first day of classes, which is going to be August 26th. It's a Wednesday. And we'll talk a little bit more about bill confirmation and things to complete by the 15th day of class as our webinar continues. When it comes to orientation information, I have a couple reminders. We frequently get questions about where information is going or how to confirm what email is on file. When a student logs into their My MSU admissions checklist, it shows all of the information they need to start here at MSU. So it starts all the way from have you submitted your application and been admitted, all the way through to orientation. And at the very top, it has your current email that's listed, as well as your parent and family contact information. If you have changed emails or if you're confused because you're not getting emails, that might be a really good place to start because that's where you can actually update your preferred email. A lot of students will put their high school email in here and then they will lose access over the summer. And so my biggest thing is make sure that you update your personal email if you haven't already so you have the correct info on file. We also get a lot of questions about parents and family members. This is where you can update who's getting what information. That's also where you can deactivate any information. So if your parents were really excited to receive admissions information, but now we're kind of saying, hey, it's time for you to take that step and ownership over your own education. I don't need to receive these notifications anymore. That's also where you can update any of that info too. So please know that this is going to be a really first kind of foundational step to make sure that you're getting the emails and the information you need from MSU. When you scroll down there, you will also see your orientation information. We will have a line for your confirmation page, as well as parent and family orientation confirmation page. So your confirmation page is going to be listed out there and it's going to say, click here to receive all of the updates and information that you need. This is also the confirmation page that we send in a lot of our reminder emails, kind of driving you to important updates from our team. The parent and family orientation confirmation line only generates if your family is registered for the program. So if you only see your orientation information there, it means that your parents and family members are not registered for orientation. That's totally okay. It's an optional program, but if they are interested, I would double check there. If you would like to add parents and family members, if they haven't previously registered, you can email our team. It's just orientation@montana.edu. and we will send you the registration form so you can add that parent and family orientation program to a student's existing registration on file. The confirmation page has a lot of important info. It's everything from an overview of the program, important dates and deadlines, frequently asked questions, but there are also some really important elements to this, both in terms of your online pre-orientation and your in-person program. So if you're looking for your online pre-orientation and how to log in, there's a tutorial video, information on placement and sending transcripts and test scores or lifting holds. A lot of those reminders and contact information is going to be available on the confirmation page. For your in-person orientation, this is where I would also drive you if you have questions about where you're going on day one, how do I park on campus, what are some of the things that I should be bringing with me to the orientation. A lot of those pieces are also covered on that confirmation page. So make sure that you check that out as we prepare for orientation in a few weeks. So one of the largest aspects of orientation is going to be your class registration process. Because our August orientation aligns with the start of school, we work really closely with our orientation for students to generate a class schedule for them leading into August. So all of the things that you are using as part of your pre-orientation are going to help our advisors feel informed to provide you a class schedule. And Nikki's going to touch a little bit more on what that looks like in just a moment here as well. And so a big part of the pre-orientation is going to be your math and writing placement, sending in official test scores and transcripts and confirming that your student record is as up to date as it can be. Filling out your orientation questionnaire, as well as lifting your immunization holds. And so those 4 steps are going to be some of the most critical, but there are many aspects, of course, of your pre-orientation. So as you work through it, you'll see some of those big ones included. From there, your academic advisor is going to review some of that information, and then they are going to ultimately provide you a class schedule that's going to keep you on track for your 4 years, that aligns with your major and your interests, and really sets you up for success. From there, you will actually receive your schedule the week of the 17th. So it's usually right around the Wednesday prior to your start here at MSU. You will get an email notifying you saying, hey, log in, review your schedule, here are the details. And then when you attend our in-person orientation, August 23rd through the 25th, that is when you are eligible to make any changes or ask questions or inquire a little bit more if you don't understand aspects of the classes that that you've been registered for in your first semester. We don't make changes to schedules in advance of our in-person program. That's a really large piece of attending our in-person program, is meeting those advisors in person and going through any of the modifications if you would like to make any. So this is kind of the step-by-step of what to expect. When it comes to the online pre-orientation, if you have not already taken the step to log in, this is my reminder that this is critical to complete it ASAP. It's been available for students since May, and maybe you just registered for orientation or just decided to join us here at MSU. You get access within about 24 hours, so you can still certainly log in and take steps on this. It is self-paced, so you can log in at any time. You don't have to do it during business hours. You can do it at night or whenever you have time to kind of fit it in. It is going to be step-by-step modules that you complete, and so you don't have to complete it all at once. You can log in, complete a certain part of it, log back out, or ask your parents questions, or call your high school to make sure that they've sent your transcript. You certainly have some time to take advantage of all of those different modules. Canvas is going to be a learning management system that we have here at MSU that is going to be really familiar to you once you start classes. And so it's really nice that our orientation program is hosted in Canvas, because this is just an introduction to a system that you will use over the next 4 years. Canvas is accessible through your NetID as well as your password. If you have not logged into Canvas previously, the first time you log in, it's going to ask you to reset your password and establish a password. Once you do that, you use that same password throughout any of our systems that you're logging into from there on. One of the pieces of the pre-orientation that typically takes a little bit of time is sending in your immunization records. So even though you've maybe worked through some of the modules of the pre-orientation, sending in your immunization records and your student health information usually takes a couple days between you requesting it, it being sent, us receiving it, being processed. And so this is really something to jump on early if you have not already. There's also a common misconception that if you've done one of these things, that you've completed this, but ultimately there are two things that we're looking for from you. The first is going to be proof of your MMR vaccine. That is typically something that you're going to work with your doctor's office on, or maybe it's been listed on a transcript previously, or you know some information about it, but you might need to ultimately send that information our way. Make sure that you do that. And the second is going to be a tuberculosis screening form. This is a health history form. As you go throughout the health history form, you're going to be asked some questions, and majority of the time, it doesn't take students longer than a couple minutes. If you go through this form and you do indicate yes to some of our questions, then they might have some follow-up information that they need from you. But this one's actually pretty quick, and it's just accessible on our website. If you scan that QR code there that's on the screen, it takes you to our immunization page. I highly recommend sharing this with your parents and family members or reviewing it really in depth. It's pretty comprehensive and it has all of the information that you need. You can contact their team in a couple different ways, but the quickest way of submitting this information is actually via your patient portal. So when you log into the patient portal there, you can submit health records and information that gets sent over their team, and then they can ultimately check these things off in your checklist pretty soon. So if you have not already, refer to your My MSU checklist, scroll down to the bottom, you'll see both of these items listed there, and both of them should have a check mark next to them to be able to register for classes. We can work with the students on a lot of different fronts if you're missing information or if there's questions that you have, but immunizations is really one that we can't override. This is something that you need to have on file or work with our student health services team on if you need an exemption to be able to move forward with class registration. The second thing that I like to remind folks of is your student record. And so there are a couple different pieces that we get common questions on. The first is if you have taken the ACT or SAT, please send us your scores. If you don't like them, that's okay. We have many ways that we can place you into classes here at MSU, but having that information on file gives us a foundational understanding of where you're at. ACT, SAT scores does not impact your admissions eligibility or your scholarships or anything like that. It's going to help us make sure that you're registered for the right classes for your point of readiness of where you're starting. With the ACT, SAT, we do need them sent officially from ACT or College Board. So if you send us a screenshot of those things, that's not official. We need to have them officially sent from the testing agency directly to the Office of Admissions. If you go online, there are a lot of instructions on how to do so, but make sure that you log into your portals for those exams and have them sent our way. The second aspect is going to be having any college level credit reported to us. So this might be incoming dual enrollment classes or college at the high school, running start, any of the courses that you've taken as part of your high school that is technically for college credit. We need to have those transcripts sent from those institutions to the Office of Admissions. So make sure that you reach out to your local community college or log on to your portal and request an official transcript be sent. That information is really important for us to officially have it on file so that we can log it as college credit in your record. AP and IB scores do need to be formally sent. A lot of our AP scores came in July, and so we have logged majority of them, if not all of them, in our checklists. And so if you had sent an AP score and you're curious if we've received it or not, make sure that you log into the My MSU checklist and review and make sure that we have it on file for you. As well as if any of this information is sent or if you're having a hard time at making sure, I think the biggest thing is you can always print out some unofficial records and make sure that you bring them with you to our in-person orientation on August 23rd. We do need to have formal official test scores and transcripts on file, but when in doubt, having an extra copy to reference as you chat with an advisor or chat with an admission staff member is always helpful as kind of a backup. Lastly, high school transcripts. We do not need your high school transcript on file for orientation or class registration purposes, but we do need your high school transcript on file as you kick off school here at MSU. And so make sure that if you haven't already, you chat with your high school, you have that official one sent. The things to keep in mind is that it does need to have your final grades as well as your graduation date posted on it for it to be considered a final official high school transcript. So have all that information sent our way. You can refer to your My MSU checklist if you're not sure if we've received that info, but these are definitely some important pieces that inform your class schedule. And then that brings us to the orientation questionnaire. The orientation questionnaire is a really in-depth survey to gather information about you and your past experiences and your academic record. And all of this is then passed off to our advisors. And so I'm going to ask Nikki to kind of kick off some of her information here and share a little bit more about how our advisors use the questionnaire. You can access the questionnaire in Canvas in your pre-orientation, and you can only take it once. So it's critical that you log in, you spend a little bit of time, and then that information is shared with our advisors as well. So you can see how advisors use that info. So maybe Nikki, you can share a little bit more.
Thanks, Shannon. So as Shannon said, this is an in-depth survey that helps us plan your fall courses. We use this if we are selecting courses that are part of your core or general education requirements. There are 10 core categories required at MSU. Most incoming students take at least one or up to 3 or more core classes in their first semester at MSU. So we will pair the information that students share with us in the orientation questionnaire with our encyclopedic knowledge of course content and course availability in order to best pair the courses that we think will help the student meet their interests as well as fulfill MSU core requirements. This is also used to select elective courses or for our university studies students to help them explore majors that they might want to declare. And so these are selected by our expert advisors in those areas to help make sure students are getting to explore their various interests, hone in what they're interested in with the goal of declaring into a major if they're currently undeclared. So that's a little bit about our orientation questionnaire. I'll share a little bit about the other information that we use to build your course schedule for the fall for our students. And so one other important piece is course placement. Course placement regarding math and writing, it's required to be able to enroll in classes. And this assesses your students' current knowledge. And it's been developed over a long time with subject matter experts to place you into the class that's just right for your current knowledge. In order to do that, we need the best information we can get from you. And so we're going to talk in turn about each math and writing. If you want to see your current math and writing placement, you can see that in your My MSU checklist. And if you don't have a placement you're satisfied with, we'll talk about the ways that you can potentially raise that placement through taking the EdReady initial placement in each area. We'll always recognize the highest placement. And so if we have a placement from you based on an ACT or SAT score, and we also get a placement for you from an EdReady placement test, then we will use whatever is highest. We'll also place you into math or writing and then the appropriate follow-on courses through information you share about any college level credit you've taken in math or writing courses. And so you can see in the screenshot at the bottom of the slide there an example of a course that has been evaluated as a specific course and you have transfer credit for Math 151Q is what it says. And so that means that student can register for any course that has Math 151, which is pre-calculus, as a prerequisite. And so if that course has been evaluated as an equivalent course, then we'll be able to advise accordingly. In order to do that, we need that information about those transfer credits. So that's one really important piece of both telling us in your orientation questionnaire what credits you're bringing in, as well as getting those official transcripts or scores sent in from dual enrollment and AP or IB credits. Okay, a little bit more about writing placement. Here, there are several different ways that you can receive your writing placement. One common way is through your high school GPA. We'll also use your ACT or SAT scores. If you've taken college level coursework through AP or IB, or through dual enrollment classes, Running Start, college and high school, then we'll use that. You can also take the EdReady writing placement, which can be found in your online orientation or pre-orientation. We'll take whatever's highest. One thing I'd like to point out is that there are these 4 different levels of writing placement. Level 100 means that when it's time for the student to take writing, so math and writing are required in all MSU majors. May or may not take in the first semester. Your advisor will advise accordingly based on the needs of your major. But when it's time to take writing, if you're level 100, you'll take a WRIT 080, which is building basic writing skills. That's going to get you up to college level writing. Level 200 will be a college writing with a co-requisite course to support building those skills. Level 300 is WRIT 101 or college writing 1. And then level 400 is exempt. Notice that the highest you can place through that EdReady score is into WRIT 101. Placing out or exemption from the writing core is only through ACT, SAT, IB, AP, or high school GPA. Math placement can also be based on any of these factors. So ACT or SAT scores, EdReady math placement, which can be found in your online pre-orientation, college level coursework from AP, IB, or dual enrollment. One important distinction between math and writing placement is that we don't use high school GPA as a placement mechanism for math courses at MSU. A couple important things about math placement. Actually, Shanna, let's show the slide. Yep, the prerequisite flow chart. So this will show the corresponding course for what level you're at. And so I will share that your advisor will place you into the appropriate course on either the arts, humanities, or social science side, or the STEM, business, health, and some social sciences side. One side takes a contemporary mathematics course option. The other side it varies by major: statistics, algebra, pre-calculus, survey of calculus, or calculus 1 or calculus for technology. Depending on where you start in your placement, that's then you'll work up to the required course in your major. Your math placement based on EdReady, once you have taken the EdReady placement, you can study in EdReady independently to raise your math placement. So if your student or you are the student, you took the EdReady kind of in a rush, maybe it doesn't reflect your most current knowledge, study in EdReady, because then you can raise it up to what reflects your current knowledge. You can raise your math placement by 1 to 2 levels just through studying independently in EdReady. If your math placement's currently based on ACT or SAT, it's definitely recommended, especially if you've taken a math class since taking those tests, or if you didn't think those tests reflected your current knowledge, to take that EdReady math placement to update this as us on what your current knowledge is, and then that gives you the opportunity to also study if you want to place higher. That's a little bit about math placement. So I guess I covered some of this on the last slide. This QR code here on the slide will show the math, the majors by required math. So if you want to go onto that page, you can search for what your planned major is and see what math is the minimum course you'll need to take on that, or work up to through the math placement and then taking courses here at MSU. Your advisors will work with you to develop a degree plan that sets you up for success based on your current level. So if your math placement is lower than the starting sequence for your major, then you can choose to study up and or take math classes here to work up to that required math level. If your math placement is higher than the starting sequence for your major, then you'll have choices of which math you can take, and advisors will place you into the appropriate course. So regardless of your math level, there are options to support to ensure that you're placed in the best course based on your current knowledge, and to ensure success in your major. And I know a lot of advisors throughout the summer have been doing outreach to students in their majors, encouraging them to take in or study in Ed Ready. So definitely paying attention to the outreach and taking action on that is very helpful for progressing in academics. So in addition to that math and writing placement and those orientation questionnaire answers, we'll combine that with information about your major required courses, credits that you're bringing in. If you've told us that you're planning to participate in any special programs such as honors, ROTC, music ensembles, athletics, or other groups, then we will take all that information and build a plan for each individual student based on courses that fulfill those major required classes, required core areas, and help explore and meet academic interests. So all of that goes into putting together the courses for your first semester at MSU. To receive your schedule, you must have completed that math and writing placement, your orientation questionnaire, your immunization records, and tuberculosis history form. And then the week before classes start, you'll get instructions from our wonderful orientation team to access your schedule. When you check into in-person orientation, you'll also receive a printed schedule. And then, as Shannon mentioned, we don't make schedule adjustments prior to in-person orientation. We have time at orientation that we'll be sharing with all students how we made their schedule, and then answering questions about those courses and discussing possible changes to those, and then time to make those changes if the advisor approves of those. That's how to receive your schedule. I'll turn it back over to Shannon. Oh, nope, not yet. I have a little bit more to say. Academic advising is a collaborative process, and each advisor, students, and orientation leaders all have a role in that. So advisors, myself, and my fellow advisors across campus in all majors review major requirements. We share key first semester information and discuss advising expectations and share contact information. So that's what we'll do with our students at orientation. The students were asked to ask their questions, share their goals, interests, strengths, values, and challenges, share that honestly and transparently. That's how we get to know you and are in our best able to support your academic journey. Students will also confirm their first semester schedule and discuss changes at orientation. And if students arrive to us at Orientation 4 without a schedule built in advance, then we will have a team of advisors that will help you register in person at orientation. Orientation leaders are also walking alongside students in this academic advising process. So they're sharing their insights and advice as students at MSU and student leaders, and they will help focus the students on, selecting courses for that first semester. Beyond orientation, students are assigned an advisor and are required to meet with their assigned advisor once a semester. We're here to support and guide their academic journey. And so what we ask for from our students is to engage with us. That means come schedule meetings with us, ask us questions, tell us when things aren't going well or when things are going well so we can help and or celebrate those. We're also always accessible to students. If schedule adjustments are needed or questions come up beyond that one required meeting a semester. We often see our students a couple times a semester to help them plan for the future at MSU. And so from our students, we ask them to come to those meetings prepared with questions ready and with an open mind so that they can be ready to plan for their academics at MSU.
Amazing. Thanks, Nikki. I always like to invite advisors to these meetings and these webinars because they play a really critical role in that class registration piece. And ultimately, it's a handoff once we start school. It's kind of a baton where we really help you and support you through that first day of class. And then we want to make sure that you know your resources heading into the first semester, and advising and all of our academic resources play really smart role in that. So all of that kind of leads us into you receiving a class schedule, and registering for classes is going to dictate some of your access and permissions to other things then moving forward. So from there, you're going to have a bill generated. If you are not yet registered for classes, let's say you signed up for orientation yesterday, you're not going to have a bill generated because all of that is going to be based on your credit load. So once we have your classes scheduled, you then have until the 15th day of class to confirm your bill. This is also where you can start to log in and look at some of your class materials that are going to be needed on Canvas. You are obviously already going to be in Canvas because of your pre-orientation, but leading into that first week, you'll start to see certain courses being activated by your professors. In there, they start to share information about what classes have required materials or books, or what ones you can maybe rent, or what that looks like. And so that's where you can start to explore some of the materials that you might want to purchase at our bookstore or elsewhere or at an online platform. We also then have Duo. Duo is a dual authentication system here at MSU. So some of you might be using Duo for other platforms out there or other systems, but Duo is what we use here at MSU to log into any of our technology. Duo doesn't prompt you until you're registered for classes or until the system acknowledges that you're starting to get registered. And so basically starting around August, you will start to see Duo every time you log in. There are instructions on how to use Duo in your pre-orientation, and there's a couple different ways. So whatever is preferred for you, highly recommend getting the app, and it's the easiest way to kind of confirm when you're logging into our various platforms. And then from there, when you have your in-person orientation, you're going to have the chance to connect with an academic advisor. So at that point, if you decide that you've had an epiphany and you want to be a nurse instead of a historian, we can talk you through what that looks like, or change any of your classes, or move forward with any of the schedule adjustments that are necessary. But that's going to be a nice element to that in-person experience, is being able to walk through that with someone and connect about some of those questions. When you join us at in-person orientation, it is going to be 2.5 days of a lot of information. It is a full program that takes you through both Sunday and Monday in its entirety, and then we end about midday Tuesday. You can expect to meet with advisors and chat with academic folks, but then you can also hear from all of the different services on campus that might be there to support you depending on your independent needs. You are going to be broken up based on your area of study. And so as you go throughout orientation, make sure you know what academic college you're in, what your major is, and then those orientation leaders are going to help facilitate getting you to the right place based on your major. Check-in takes place bright and early on Sunday morning. It's going to be from 8 to 10. It's just a range. You don't all have to come at once, or I would not recommend just waiting until 10 p.m., but try to come a little bit in that time break, just so then you can get the information that you need, including your schedule and your orientation schedule, the program schedule. When you check in, you're going to get your schedule, you're going to get move-in details, you're going to get information about how to proceed over the next 2.5 days. And if you have questions about any of these things, your confirmation page is a good place to start as well. So our August orientation students are eligible to move in a day prior to when the rest of our student population is moving in. So you can be successful in orientation and join us first thing at 8 a.m. on Sunday. And so when you go online for housing, you will set up an early arrival request. If you have not already, please go in and do this if you're planning on coming on the 22nd. You will go to the forms section of your StarRes portal, and then you will fill out the early arrival request form, and you will indicate that you're an August orientation student. When you do that, there's no charge. Ultimately, it's all just covered as part of that August orientation process, but there's a lot of questions around what that looks like. Students do not need to sign up for an individual move-in time if they have submitted the early arrival request form. So you can come at any time on the 22nd once you're approved. There are a lot of resources online, so I recommend scanning those QR codes and reviewing some of those FAQs. You can mail some information in advance. So if you're like looking to mail a fan, I don't know, a box fan from Amazon that you order or something like that, which I recommend in August. That's going to be something that you can ship directly to your residence hall if you would like. But there are some details around timing and what to expect in your mailing address. And so looking at those resources and the FAQs online is really what's going to be able to set you up for success. When you arrive, we're going to have big bins for you to haul all of your stuff in. You get a temporary parking credential as part of move-in. And so that allows you to pull up to the curb, park there for 15 minutes, unload your things, leave your car. And it allows you to just have a really smooth transition to moving things into your residence hall without having to worry about the chaos of anything else. From there, you can go relocate your car, park. You have access to your room at any point after you've checked in. So even if you're coming first thing in the morning, it's not like you have to unload everything then. Basically, it's kind of just allowing you to check in during that time, but you can come and go as you need. It's your home after that point. So feel free to run to Target or go get lunch with your family before they move. Before they leave and you move in. So there's a lot of options there, and there is some information from University Student Housing that's really valuable to review before that. So to kind of give you a timeline, you move in on the 22nd, and then on Sunday, the 23rd, is when we are going to kick off orientation. Check-in takes place at 8 a.m., like I said, between 8 and 10 in Norm Asbjornsen Hall. That is also then when we do our big welcome and when we kick off some of our information sessions. That evening, we are going to have our first MSU debut engagement event. MSU debut is essentially a signature series of events that welcome you to campus. The first one is going to be our food truck rodeo, which is hosted on that Sunday evening. There's going to be a bunch of food trucks. There's music, there's games. It's a chance for you to come out and meet up with some friends and get a little dinner as you settle into campus. Monday is then when you are going to review all things academics. So that's your chance to connect with an academic advisor. If you have not already registered for classes, that's going to be the day where you actually register that afternoon. And then there's also going to be information sessions and workshops throughout the day on Monday. On Monday night, if you are living on campus, that is where we have our floor meetings. And so that's where you're going to have the chance to connect with anyone in your designated residence hall. And then on Tuesday, that's where you're going to make any changes to your schedule if you need to, kind of wrap up some of our orientation programming. And then on Tuesday night is when we have our traditional first year student kickoff. So when you see those big images of the M photo and kind of our welcome kickoff from the president, that all takes place on Tuesday night. We then have first day of class on Wednesday, and we have some of our other kind of fan favorite events that happen at the end of the week. That includes Catapalooza, which is our giant info fair, as well as our MSU debut concert. So this is kind of leading you into the first day of school, and just know that MSU debut continues on past this point. For our parents and family members, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but there is a concurrent parent and family program that takes place during the days of orientation. So even though they are sessions that are taking place at the same time, majority of the time the parent and family schedule is very separate from the student schedule because they're going to be meeting their orientation leaders or their academic advisors, but we're going to make sure that you get the information that our parents and family members need to be able to support their student through the transition. When we look at our parent and family orientation, everything is optional. It's pick and choose. So some family members come in and they might attend every single thing from 8 to 5 one day and they get all the information they need. Some family members might just want to attend a couple things or drop in here or there, and that's totally welcome and lovely. Parents and family members are responsible for their own lodging during orientation. We are going to be housing your students, and so we unfortunately don't have space to be able to host our family members, but we do have a lot of recommendations that are available online. So scan that QR code, it takes you to our local lodging recommendations page, and there are a couple discounts for you to check out there as well. Throughout that time, parents and family members are going to have the time to check out a parent and family social. There's info sessions, there's tours. There's also the chance for you to connect with designated faculty and deans and directors in your student's area of study, so don't miss out on that. And you will check in at the exact same time on Sunday. And so when your student is checking in to Norm Asbjornsen Hall, you're checking in right across the street from 8 to 10 in the sub. So I know a lot of information was covered there. To kind of just review the general timeline one more time. If you have not already, do your online pre-orientation as soon as possible. Make sure that you fill out an early arrival request form so you can arrive on August 22nd. Orientation then kicks off from the 23rd through the 25th. If you have not already, but you would like to bring a vehicle to campus, just know that it is competitive to purchase a parking permit. There's parking permit information in our online pre-orientation for you to review. So depending on whether you are living on campus or off campus, there's a couple different details for you to look at there. It just kicked off this week on Monday, so there's a chance for you to go in and review that information tonight if you haven't already. MSU debut then kicks off over the weekend. Our first day of class is the 26th, and then ultimately bill confirmation and kind of confirming all of the details of your schedule will be wrapped up by the 15th day of class. I did highlight some of our debut events, but we always just like to list them out so students can check out some of the details online. MSU debut is really designed to make sure that you have a social experience when you move to campus, whether that's a small social event or getting to know people on your floor in your residence hall, all the way through to that big M photo. There are a lot of ways that you can connect with other students and make sure that you find your home in your community. And these are just a couple of those to kind of highlight and to get excited about. And with that, that is a lot of the information that we have to provide to you, but we know that the chat has been very active throughout this entire webinar. And so I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I am going to invite one of our admissions counselors on. They are going to introduce some of the questions, and then Nikki and I can take those and answer those live. So feel free to keep chatting those in. We're here to help. So Emily, it sounds like they've been chatting things in as we've been talking.
Yes, thank you, Shannon. All right, so just a few questions that kind of were jumping out to our team. One that we saw, how do I sign up for an early move-in if I want to come to campus before August 22nd? And would I have to pay for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as part of your orientation for registration, early arrival on the 22nd is covered. So there's no additional cost if you want to come on that Saturday before orientation starts on Sunday. If you would like to move in prior to that, it is at the discretion of the housing department, depending on what's available and what's happening on campus. So some students might want to come in on the 21st or something like that. You are ultimately responsible for covering the cost of that if you come in earlier than the 22nd, but housing is your best contact there. When you go into your housing portal, there is a forms section, and that's how you can fill out the early arrival request. And just make sure that you have some notes and some details in there for our housing staff to review, and they get back to you pretty quickly and approve those, so you know that information moving into campus as well.
All right, thank you. What if I want to change my major after I've already received my schedule?
Yeah, so I can kind of mention it from the orientation perspective, and Nikki can kind of touch on the class registration perspective. So if you have a major right now and you're kind of wavering and you're trying to decide, it's likely that we've probably already looked at your information or we're looking at it in the next week or so. And so Feel free to send in major changes as you have them, but just know that your class schedule might not be updated until that in-person orientation, depending on the timing of when you're sending that information in. And so when in doubt, your schedule is going to be reviewed in depth with you during your in-person orientation. And that's when you're going to have the chance to connect with an advisor. If you decide to change your major at any point leading up until the first day of class, your contact is going to be the Office of Admissions. We're happy to help you out with that. If you decide to change your major after the first day of class, maybe it's November of your first semester and you decide these classes aren't for me, you can work with an advisor, and online through our registrar's office, there is a change of curriculum form that you would complete, and they would be able to help you process that formally. But Nikki can kind of jump into if we have a class schedule for you, let's say that we provide that to you, the week leading up to your move-in, and then you decide to change it on the first day of class. What does that look like?
Sure. So we would ask that you come see the advisor in the new department. So students need to always connect with the department they're moving to in order to get advised for the classes for that other department. So if you're currently a psychology major, you decide you want to pursue business, you make that change once you arrive here at orientation or in the first couple days of school. Our office operates on a drop-in only basis for the first 5 days of school. We're here 9 to 4 those days. And so we welcome you in to come see us, and we will help you, re-advise you, help you adjust your schedule then. And so we'll look forward to seeing you if that is the case.
Awesome.
Great, thank you guys. Kind of in the similar vein with registering for classes, your major, what if a student wants to add a minor? How would they do that? What's the timeline on that? Anything important to know with that process?
Yeah, our students, we get this question a lot as well with students that want to double major as well. You can share your areas of interest with advisors when you connect with them. A lot of people might also put some of that information in the questionnaire when they're filling it out. And so that information is always helpful to kind of be thinking about and planning for. So we can register you for classes that both align with your interests, but kind of keep you on track for those majors or double minors or things like that. With that being said, you can't formally double major or have a minor in the system until you've actually started classes here at MSU. And so even though you might have a couple things in mind as an incoming student, you're going to have one primary major on file up until that first semester. And then at that point, you can work with an academic advisor to make sure that that's formally added to your record and to your graduation plan.
All right, and with move-in and orientation, how long can parents stay, whether they're just here to help their student move in or if they're involved in the parent and family orientation?
Yeah, we don't kick you out. So it's really up to the family to decide what's best for the student and timeline and travel plans. We do have that parent and family orientation that takes place from Sunday through Tuesday. I would say the busiest days of that orientation for family members are going to be Sunday and Monday. So we usually see Tuesday kind of being the day where a lot of family might depart, if not earlier. Just so then when students are kicking off the first day, they're kind of set up and they're good to go and they're in that mindset of being at school in their new home. But we have some family members that might just come and drop their student off Saturday and then they head home. But we also have family that stay all the way through Tuesday. So completely welcome to do so. We have family members that, come and join us on campus and ask questions throughout the entire experience, or some that we might see one time. So we welcome it all.
All right, and then when I'm moving my student in, where will I park during move-in?
Yeah, so there's a couple details to kind of consider. If a student is bringing their own car to campus, then they need a parking permit for the entire year. So at that point, I would say if your student is moving with their car and you might be with them or something like that, they can just park on campus starting from the moment they get here in their designated parking lot. We do provide temporary parking permits for move-in. And so if you would like to pull up to the curb in front of Highlight Hall and unload all of your things, you have a temporary permit that allows you to do so during your move-in time. Separate from that, though, we do provide parents and family members a temporary parking credential during orientation. So if you are just coming and you're here on that Sunday, Monday, and then you're heading out, there is a parking credential that is on your confirmation page that you can print out and you can stick it in the dash of your car, which allows you to be here during those days, but we know that it's not long term.
Okay, great. With parent and family orientation, are family members still able to register for that?
Yeah, so we have parents and family members that register all the way up until the moment the program starts. We definitely welcome any and all families. Sometimes we have one parent join us, sometimes we have the whole kit and caboodle, and we have grandparents and sisters and uncles and cousins and nieces and nephews. That's great. The parent and family registration covers the entire family, not just individuals. And so if you maybe registered yourself, but then it's decided that grandma's also going to join you, that's awesome. That family registration is all encompassing. When they register, you can do so by emailing orientation@montana.edu if you haven't already registered. If you're questioning, like maybe my student did, maybe they did not, I would recommend logging into the My MSU checklist to confirm if there is a parent and family orientation line that is already there. Because it's 90% of the time we'll have family members email us and they'll say, little Jimmy didn't do this, but in fact, Jimmy did. And so I recommend looking at that My MSU checklist to confirm if you're actually registered or not. And if not, feel free to shoot us an email. It's just orientation@montana.edu, and we can get you registered all the way up until when that program kicks off, August 23rd.
Okay, great. An important one here. When do I need to have paid my tuition bill?
Yeah, so when students go into their accounts, depending on, we're working through class scheduling and registration details. So if you find yourself in QuickPay and you already see information generated in there, you can pay that information. Feel free to go ahead, but ultimately you're not going to be dinged or there's no late fee until the 15th day of class. The formal deadline that we're kind of encouraging most students to look at their bill is August 21st. But again, we acknowledge that our orientation hasn't yet happened. And so a lot of students will actually pay their bill after that date and into the first couple of days of school if they participate in our August orientation, because you might still be modifying your schedule or kind of confirming what your class schedule looks like. So the 15th day of class, I believe, is September 16th or something like that. And so you have into the first few weeks of school to kind of confirm that bill. And my big reminder for families is that even if you are completely paid for through other entities, let's say you're an athlete and Bobcat Athletics and financially it has covered your bill, you are still responsible for going in and acknowledging, we call it confirming. So acknowledging and confirming that you have a bill that was generated and that it's covered through these external sources. So something that you have to do every semester as part of being a student here at MSU.
Okay, great. And then the last one, we've seen some questions about different things that people should be bringing, whether they're a student planning for the school year or just for orientation. Do either of you guys have really big suggestions that this is something you absolutely need to have?
I'll kind of cover the social side of things if Nikki, you maybe want to speak to the academic side of the house. I think some things that really help students feel at home or whatever are going to be things that make your residence hall room comfortable. So whether that's like your favorite blanket or a fan in August when you move in and it might be a little bit warm, I think those things are always really helpful. A couple of things that we always say that are highly utilized are if you have portable chargers or some kind of charger that you're bringing to class with you, or maybe you have late nights or you're camping or something like that and you want a portable charger with you. Reusable water bottles are really common. So bring your residence hall water bottle with you everywhere you go and fill it up. I think those things are always really nice. I would say bring the things that you're going to need in the first few weeks of school. And then as you get closer to winter, you can always go home or purchase snow boots or things like that. I think sometimes people overpack because they're just so nervous that they need everything for the entire year. but I would say you definitely have some opportunities to still send that information later or purchase something in town if you find that you need it. Nikki, from the classroom perspective, are there things that you think would be helpful?
From the academic side, I would say something to take notes on, whether if you're a hand note taker, notebook, pen, pencil, you're an iPad, if you're more electronic, or your laptop if you're wanting to type. So you'll likely need a computer. Your academic unit what should have, recommendations about what will work best for your program. And then some majors might have specific supplies needed, whether especially in the arts, you'll be able to access like recommended supply lists, textbook information if there's other supplies needed as your course materials begin to get activated on Canvas. Those should be posted by the first day of school, and so always can be acquired here through the bookstore or online as you learn what's important for each of your classes. I saw a question about if you need a printer. That's definitely a personal preference. If you like to be able to print on your own, you are welcome to. You also have access to printing in the library and academic buildings and residence halls, I believe. So that is also a personal preference.
Yeah, from a personal perspective, I never went over the printing amount that's allotted to you. And so there's definitely printing on campus if you don't want to haul one with you, that's accessible and available as well.
All right, so I think just for the sake of time, we'll wrap up those questions, but thank you guys so much for your answers.
Thank you to Emily. A big thank you to our folks behind the scenes who have been answering all of your questions as well. And thank you to Nikki for joining me tonight. We are going to be sending out information leading up to orientation, so keep an eye on your email. And then when in doubt, this recording, this webinar will also be posted on your confirmation page. So feel free to share this with your family members or your students, refer back to it as you need. We are so excited to have you join us here at MSU. We don't take that lightly. We're really excited that you chose MSU and to continue your education formally. And so we appreciate it. We're looking forward to you being a Bobcat, and let us know how we can help as we count down the days. Thank you.